First of all, I want to thank you to everybody who has supported the last recent video on this new Joe Budden versus Drake 2.0 beef. Obviously, it's only gotten hotter on the internet with what people have been saying. I wanted to personally come on and kind of break down Drake's diss and what he said to Joe Budden. Of course, he went ahead and does what he normally does in this situation. Fucking wrote the 4-page letter sequel to Aaliyah's track in this Instagram post. I'm gonna try to keep this really short and sweet as well. So obviously, he says here, you failed at music, you left it behind to do what you are doing in this clip, because that is what is actually paying your bills. Okay, first of all, we need to dead this narrative that Joe Budden is a failed rapper / musician. Okay, the reason why we need to dead that is because obviously Joe has had his own success as a rapper. For this to come from Drake doesn't help Drake's case the way he thinks it's helping his case. Okay, Drake is only a certain percentage of rappers, artists, are going to reach the level of a Drake. Okay, and for him to say this to Joe Budden has transitioned from music from a completely different time, a completely different business structure that we know today. It's a little unfair for us to keep beating this sort of criticism of Joe Budden based on what Joe Budden has achieved as a former rapper. It's a little unfair for us to keep beating this into Joe's brain. But at one point, I couldn't stand Joe Budden. I was at wit's end with hearing this dude talking and what have you. But when I really dive deep into looking at Joe Budden in his career and the stride that he had made to where he is now as having one of the biggest hip-hop podcasts of all time, undeniable to the point where Drake's pathetic ass is replying to him. If Joe Budden wanted to realistically come back and rap, guess what Joe Budden has on his side? He has his own fan base. He has his own fan base that will gladly come back and support him. And let's keep it tall. Joe Budden is at a point in his career, he took a pivot, left hip-hop, left rapping for his own personal reasons, his own personal trauma, left rapping for a certain amount of time, and guess what happened? He built up a whole nother brand. So now he is big to the point where if he comes back, he is now going to be able to have an even bigger career we can debate. So let's stop that narrative, man. I'm a little tired of it. I originally used to support that narrative, but now I don't anymore, especially when we get into more of this. For any artist watching this, just remember you are watching a failure give their opinion on his idea of recipe of success. Not true. Joe Budden is not a failure. In comparison to you, it's unfair to say that, okay? That's like the Eminem argument. Everybody thinking that they're going to reach a high status of where these rap superstars are at. It's not true. You're going to have to make certain sacrifices from a business standpoint. You're going to have to make certain sacrifices as an artist standpoint to reach a level of a Drake. It is what it is. So for him to say this, it's coming off as bull crap. Okay, anybody with common sense in their brain and on an industry that knows the industry knows that Drake has had to make certain moves that are suggestive, not the greater good, which is why Drake is at where he's at today. Okay, that's not to take away from Drake's success, because Drake has had success. But guess what? We have to still add that in there. You switch careers because the things that popped into your brain had you broke living check to check, and the raps you write had 450 men showing up to your shows, dusty NC jeans, blah, blah, to screw up their face to Mood Music 29 and pretend you are the GOAT. Please, to any artist that's doing what they feel is right, don't let these opinions affect your mindset after the fact. This guy is the poster child of frustration and surrender. Another problem that I have with Drake doing that little rant that he did about Joe Budden and being a failure and putting on shows for his fan base that supported mood music and all that movement that Joe Budden was on. Drake has gotten to the point where he's so delusional that he is forgetting that there's receipts out there that people are pulling that has him literally in Joe Budden's face saying how much of a fan he was, saying how much of a biter he was from somebody. You tried to throw all that in there about Joe Budden's fan base at the time being fans of his mood music series, when you were the one that was literally a fan of his mood music series. You were the one who was in his face saying how much you used to bump him. You were the one in a recent interview that was on the couch talking about how you used to try to rap like Joe Budden. This doesn't sound the way you think it sounds. It sounds like you are reaching from your own personal background, and now because you're frustrated off of a critique of an album and off of what Joe Budden said about your album, you're reaching into that personal place now from where you were literally sucking up as a fan, and you're projecting it now because you can as the bigger industry artist, which, by the way, hasn't really been doing you any favors with the way this criticism and what the way your character is doing. But that's for later on in the rant. You retired. We never hung up your jersey. We don't even remember your number. We know you for doing this. You withdrew from rap not because you accomplished all you need to it because it wasn't working from you. I never want anybody in the generations to think that the whole everybody's entitled to their opinion is a real thing. This is a man projecting his own self-hate and the fact I did and continue to do everything he wanted to do for himself. And then he gets into what he owns. Typical Drake fashion. Does Drake realize how delusional he looks? Do y'all understand how crazy this looks? If you are the biggest artist in this recent time, you are the biggest hip-hop artist, why the fuck are you responding to somebody you feel is less than? Not to mention the fact, this doesn't help the fact when we break down earlier portions of what happened in when Drake was really going down on the decline in his beef, Pusha T, Fantano recently. Drake has shown in his character that he is just as fragile as somebody that he's shooting at when it comes down to thinking that they have a case in this little argument series that he's been running on. He's been showing that he's not any better than somebody that he's, spitting at when it comes down to this bullshit. Joe Budden literally should not even be in your stratosphere when you're talking about comparing your industry status to his industry status. If everything you said in here was true and you wanted to take the time to address what you addressed, you should have thought about all those receipts that people are now pulling. You should have thought about all the times when you had to prove yourself as a rapper recently. Pusha T, you did the same shit. You wrote a paragraph how you were in blackface trying to reason that you were an actor in blackface and you were doing a project that backfired on you. You had to write a paragraph in regards to Fantano, dissing his personal life, dissing somebody who is literally nowhere in your spectrum, taking it to a point of huge disrespect and bringing in the fact of his wife and all this other shit. Drake, you are the biggest goofy of an artist right now, and it's almost impossible to go back to this dude's music because it's like, dude, like seriously, how do you think this makes you look good by any stretch of the imagination? You used to be a fan of this dude. You used to rip from this dude, along with so many other rappers who you claim are below you. Say what you want about Joe Budden, but Joe Budden, when it comes down to rapping, when he was true, he was as true as it got when it came down to it. Okay? Everybody wants to diss somebody for taking a pivot and being great in another area, literally building a foundation on a completely different avenue that now got them to a higher career. It's crazy that we are still running with that narrative and acting like Drake hasn't been the sorry sack of dog shit when it comes down to an artist that we have recently seen. When Joe was talking about Drake in regards to getting away from the 25-year-olds, there was a lot of misconceptions about that. Joe wasn't saying that Drake needs to succumb to an old head mindset. That's not what Joe was saying. Joe was trying to help this idiot to realize, listen, I could see from listening to your music from back then to now that it's evident you are stuck in this warp of a mindset of not bringing your content up. Your content has stayed the same consistently for years. We go to the same Drake album and it's like we're stuck in a time loop of this dude trying to consistently bring us outdated content. Any artist knows that when you are stuck in there, it's your work is going to suffer. It's just a fact. Your work is going to suffer. And it showed on this damn For All the Dogs album. And everybody sees it. Everybody knows this dude is literally stuck. He is stuck in the 20-something-year-old mindset, trying to rap about things that are just like, when somebody looks at you, it's like, dude, you're well over 30-something. The content has stagnated. The colors that this dude is showing right now, it's literally all fucking exploding on the canvas in his own face. Joe Budden doesn't look as crazy as people would like to paint out the Drake stans and everybody else. It's sad that we've come to this point. This dude is literally, he is on the worst mental decline, and it's good that he's taking a break. Maybe when he comes back, there will be a better level-headed person who can admit that the content has been suffering. It's time to grow up. Like Joe Budden said, it's time to grow up. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Drake versus Joe Budden 2. Who's got it?